Imagine waking up to the smell of freshly baked bread, the morning sun slicing through your quaint little village, and the world seemingly untouched by chaos. Your life revolves around flour-streaked aprons and the comforting warmth of an oven. This was the life of a humble baker named Peter, who would one day find himself at the eye of a storm so fierce that it would threaten to obliterate not just his village but the fragile sense of normalcy he cherished. Welcome to another thrilling episode of Fascinating History, where we unveil stories that have been buried under centuries of dust. Today, we take you back to 1573, to one of the most overlooked yet decisive moments in European history, the Siege of Haarlem. But what's so special about Haarlem, you ask? What makes a baker pivotal in this tale? Sit tight, because this story is bound to blow you away. The Siege of Haarlem took place during the 80 Years' War, a bloody struggle for independence as the Dutch provinces sought to break free from Spanish rule. Spain at the time was a superpower, a juggernaut of wealth, military might, and ambition. It didn't merely seek to dominate, it often did. However, in 1573, Haarlem, a small Dutch city, dared to defy the Spanish crown. And in the heart of this rebellion, a baker named Peter Clash. Peter was not a soldier. He bore no sword, wore no armor, and led no army. In the grand narrative of history, he's the sort of character you expect to remain in the background, nameless and forgotten. Yet Peter had something more critical than brute strength. He had ingenuity, courage, and yeast. Rumors swirled around Haarlem as Spanish forces approached. "Have you heard? The Spanish are coming." The whispers grew louder as scouts returned with terrifying news of an army marching their way. The citizens of Haarlem had one of two choices: submit and open their gates, or resist and likely be slaughtered. Yet the town council voted overwhelmingly for resistance. Peter, like every other able-bodied man, was conscripted to aid in the city's defense. Except, how could a baker contribute to a siege? It turns out, quite brilliantly. Armed with his knowledge of flour and water, Peter masterminded a covert operation to infiltrate Spanish ranks. Not with weapons, but with poisoned bread. Now, here's the intriguing part. During medieval and early modern warfare, much of the logistics revolved around keeping armies fed. Starvation could end a siege as effectively as an overwhelming attack. Peter, understanding this, turned his craft into a weapon of war, organizing a covert network of bakers to deliver bread spiked with lethal doses of arsenic. Working under the cover of night, Peter and his team distributed poisoned loaves to Spanish camps. Soldiers, riddled with hunger, found these loaves irresistible, a fatal mistake. As death and chaos swept through Spanish ranks, Peter's plan bought Haarlem precious time, enough for reinforcements to organize. This daring operation not only staved off a disaster, but also exemplified the creative resistance of communities fighting against insurmountable odds. This tale isn't just a story of ingenuity, it's one of human resilience and the power of collective action. Haarlem did eventually fall to the Spanish after months of grueling warfare, but the siege had drained the Spanish forces both logistically and emotionally. Politically, the sacrifice of Haarlem became a rallying cry, galvanizing other provinces to unite against Spanish oppression. But what happened to Peter Clash? Local records suggest conflicting stories. Some say he was captured and executed by Spanish forces when Haarlem fell. Others claim he slipped away under the cover of night, eventually hiding in the wetlands that crisscrossed the Dutch landscape. What isn't in dispute is Peter's legacy, etched not in grand memorials or historical textbooks, but in the very spirit of resistance he symbolized. The Siege of Haarlem reminds us of something profoundly human. Even the humblest among us can alter the course of history. A simple baker, armed with nothing but flour, water, and courage, stood against one of history's most formidable empires. And in doing so, he proved that no act of defiance, however small, should ever be underestimated. So the next time you bite into a loaf of bread, remember Peter Claes. Remember the baker who dared to weaponize his craft in the face of tyranny. Thank you for joining us on Chronicles of Human History. If this story moved you, inspired you, or simply caught you off guard, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and always dig a little deeper into the layers of history.